Okay, so in my effort to introduce Bug to things that I love so that we have some shared interests and can do things together, and also try and encourage her to read more, get some, so that way she practices reading, becomes a better reader, and hopefully accidentally, becomes a better student in school. I've been introducing her to the Final Fantasy games, or rather, I just downloaded the Final Fantasy IV remake onto her phone, as well as the Final Fantasy VI iPhone version. So she's been having some issues already with Final Fantasy IV, which predominantly probably comes from the fact that she's not used to playing retro style JRPGs. So I'm going to just kind of quickly run her through some stuff that will hopefully help her out. And so we're going to start. I hope we continue. That should put me in the game I just started up, getting me back to where um, roughly she is. So it apparently saved right before I went into Kaipo. So I'm taking Rydia into the inn, into um, rest after being separated from Kane at the very beginning of the game. And I'm going to skip all the dialogue because I'm not really doing this as like a story-based playthrough. This is more just so that Bug has a way to kind of get some help in see what maybe she's doing wrong. Because I'm sure if you're not used to them, these probably aren't the easiest games to adjust to. Growing up, I'd actually played Final Fantasy One, the original version, quite a bit before ever touching Final Fantasy Four on the Super Nintendo. It was released obviously as Final Fantasy Two at the time because it was the second one released in the United States. So I'm going to end up fighting some people here. Now, one of the things about this fight that she probably didn't know, and she probably did a good enough job anyway, is if I remember correctly, we can attack the general. The general tells the soldiers when to attack. They only attack when he says so. If I remember correctly, it's a lot easier to kill the general. And if I'm remembering wrong, then at least there's some benefit to killing him. I can't remember explicitly what. I want to say maybe it's like some experience or money. Yep, so they're all confused. Alright. And we should be able to wipe them out pretty easily. One left. He hit himself. That's kind of funny. I didn't know that they did that. So I win. And Freddy is going to talk some more. And we learn that her name's Rydia and she's a summoner. Which clearly we already knew because she summoned Titan and supposedly basically destroyed the entire valley. Alright, so this should pick up pretty much where Bug is. So one of the things that I don't believe I mentioned to her, and she's probably not used to, is that Rydia as a character is really weak right now. She is always physically weak. She gets a bit better in terms of physical attack in the last probably, what can we call it, half of the game. But right now, we need to try and find a way to keep Rydia from dying. So one of the things that she probably didn't do, she probably didn't go into these stores and buy actual equipment for her. So we're going to buy her a leather cap, and then she apparently is already wearing the leather clothing, and the iron armlet's worse than what she's got. But the leather cap, I mean, one defense point probably isn't going to make or break anything. However, you know, every little bit helps. So got that on her. Now that's the armor store. So there should be a weapon store somewhere. One of the things I don't think Bug knows that she can do is that you can actually talk to these dancers throughout the town, and there's a couple you don't want to talk to because they actually will either rob you or curse you. But I mean, it's kind of interesting to see as it's one of those things that never really made sense to me as a game mechanic. It looks a bit neater in the remake version, although I really wasn't expecting them to strip down into a bikini and start dancing in the water. Shows how much I remember of the remake. Alright, and I've explained to her that you can sometimes find items hidden around, but here we go. This is what we're looking for. Now, I seriously don't believe that there's anything that's an improvement. So, I mean, I could buy her a staff. It'll increase her attack by 1 point. I'm not worried about that. We can get by without worrying about 1 point of attack power on Rydia real easily. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is it never hurts to gain a couple levels. But one of the things that we can do at this point is it's really easy to get the next character. And then you can actually target all with your magic. So I remember these things being weak against ice. We're going to use Blizzard. One of the things that I've not explained to her yet is how the magic naming system works. So when I was young, the spells were pretty straightforward. You had like fire, then you had fire 2, fire 3. So one of the things that the company that made Final Fantasy used to be Squaresoft, is now Square Enix, does with the naming is they changed it from that numbered based system to changing the end of the word. So instead of fire 1, 2, and 3, we have fire, Fyra, and Fyraga. The same applies to Blizzard. So it'd be Blizzard, Blizzara, and then Blizzaga. So if we see that. So one of the things that at this point is Rydia actually has white magic now. So we can actually have her go in there and heal herself using Cure, which is the basic healing spell. And once we go into this cave, I remember him being pretty well towards the front. So we'll go up here, we'll hit these chests. Now, it has been a while since I've played Final Fantasy IV, so if I say anything and it turns out that I'm wrong, I apologize pretty much sincerely. Now, I remember the tiny mages being annoying. They're in the back, so Cecil's not going to be able to do a lot of damage to him right off the bat. I don't mind using Rydia's magic at this point. What we're really trying to do is we're just trying to survive. So we want Rydia to stay alive. Yep, there we go. Tiny Mage almost knocked Rydia out in one hit. So we'll just hit it with Thunder again. Hopefully that does enough damage to kill it. I am playing on the hard difficulty level that they added into the remakes, where everything's a little bit tougher, does a little more damage. So hopefully everything will be easier for you when you play this bug. And there Rydia gains a level. And she learns Confuse and Sleep, which are a couple spells that I probably will never use. I am going to go in here. I'm going to have Rydia heal herself again. I'm going to do it twice, that way she's closer to full health. And the reason why we came up here is it probably wouldn't hurt to go ahead and try and gain some levels, like I said. But what we want is somewhere, if I remember correctly, in this cave, we're going to meet Tellah, who is the next character that's going to join our party. What's going to happen is he's going to join our party, and he's actually the best magic user early on in the game for a number of reasons. The biggest one being just that he is stronger, has the best selection of spells pretty much at any point without gaining a lot of levels first. I don't think this is going to go well for me. I might have to go find the inn after all. Depends if they keep smacking Rydia around. But once I have yeah, there we go. Rydia's out. I'm going to try and escape because I'm not in a good place where I can feel comfortable doing this with just Cecil. And there's nothing wrong, Bug. If you ever are having problems, like I said, Final Fantasy, you really need to make sure you're the right level for things. So you definitely don't want to seek out fights if you play the game in a regular way where you're kind of exploring, you're not going straight from one objective to the next. That way you get the experience. So you want to try and win pretty much every fight that you know that you can. However, you want to make sure that you remember that it's okay to backtrack some. It's okay to go back and use a tent. It's okay to go back and get an inn. I'm not going to play too much longer in this video. I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to kind of give you some basics, like I said. So, one of the things that will probably help is learning what's weak against what. At this point, most of what things are going to be weak against probably going to be Blizzard. There is a boss that I was hoping to include in the video that is weak against Thunder, and so I am going to try and tack at least that boss fight onto the end of this video, even if I don't make it that far before I feel like I've explained everything. So one of the things about that I keep trying to start talking about, but distracting myself, is that at the point we're at now, we can... I think I just used the wrong spell. Yep, I did. I should have used Blizzard. I am not used to talking and playing video games. I'm used to playing with my mouth shut. But anyway, so we can use Rydia's magic all we want because we're not worried about saving our magic for the boss fight. There will be if I remember correctly, there will be the first actual save point in the game that isn't outside right before then. So we can use our tent to get our magic back, and we don't have to worry about whether or not we've got the magic points for the fight, because we do want to have a full magic or close to it for the actual boss fight. I'm not used to things being tougher. I'm used to that killing all the goblins at this point in the game. I'm not going to use the magic throw on it. There you go, Rydia. Probably the only time you'll ever beat anything with a physical attack. And then, again, want to make sure that our party's nicely healed up. Cecil's got over 200 hit points. I'm not too worried about his exact amount of health. As long as he's over 200, we're probably okay. So one of the things that they added is the map layer, and you'll notice if I do a lot of videos, I'm going to use that map layer a lot because, I mean, there's not a lot of reason not to, but also because they added a bonus to if you actually fill out the entire map. Man, those things are tough and on hard. Alright, we're just going to try running. I don't feel like this is going well. I really just want Tellah at the moment. We dropped 17 gil, not that I'm too worried about that. But you'll notice there's a percentage that goes up as I fill it. Yep, there we go. There's Tellah. Hello, Tellah. Why didn't he join me? What am I missing? Alright, well, I'm clearly missing something. What am I forgetting about this point in the game that I missed when I started skipping dialogue left and right? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Ow. Well, Riddy is up to level 9, so my little forgetfulness at least is helping me level up, which is never a bad thing, as I previously said. So, since you're not used to how the magic works in Final Fantasy games, or most games kind of like in an RPG style, Bug. So if you use a spell that you can use on one or multiple things, you're going to do a lot more targeting a single target or character or enemy than you are if you hit all of them. So for example, if I attack everything with the same spell, then I'm going to do a fraction of the damage. I know we've kind of been explaining division to you the other day, so in case in a way that hopefully you understood. So I can do 52 damage against a sword rat, but if I did everything, if you remember correctly, when I hit all 4 goblins, I did closer to about 15 to 20 damage each. So you need to keep that in mind in deciding where you're going to hit. Alright, so I missed something in town, I believe. I think is what I did. So first thing I'm going to do is go to the inn. The inn is one of my favorite places in the world. Alright, why do I keep hitting the wrong thing? Alright. So what did I miss? So there we learned that Tellah's daughter ran off with somebody. We learned that only Damascus royalty are allowed into Antlion's cave, which will be important later when we have Edward. I believe you're the item. Yep, you're the item shop. I see the pot on the wall. There we go. That's what I'm missing. So a young lady from Baron was found passed out. So what we need to do is we need to see Rosa first. Hey, look, it's Rosa. That's what I was forgetting. And we talked to some people, learned that we need to get something from the Antlion's test. Now, one of the things that they added is different battle command, ability to change different battle commands. And if I remember correctly, you even get like different No, that's not what I want. All right, there we go. So you can teach people different abilities. So I can teach somebody auto potion, which is if they get hit, they will use a potion, which automatically heals them and is a interesting way to heal yourself. But it's one of the key things that you need to remember is that it does take potions, and can go through a lot of potions using an auto potion ability in any of the Final Fantasy games, no matter which one it is. So I am not going to use that at the moment. But now, when we go see Tellah up in this cave, we should be able to get him to join us right off the bat. Already is level 10, which is closer to where I remember wanting her. She learned Asuna and Poison. So Asuna is an oddly named ability based on what I know it is. What it does is it heals any kind of like poison for usually. So we'll get the exact description of the ability here in a minute for you, but just so you know in advance, that's kind of what it is it's basically healing poison. Usually heals a lot more than that. Depends on which game and what status effects kind of are affected. So here we go. It says remove most status ailments. That's not going to be too helpful in terms of just basically understanding. So it'd probably be like poison's probably the biggest one. Let me make it up to Tellah. And instead of telling us to get lost, we realize that he is the Tellah the Sage. Alright, so Tellah can use both white and black magic, just like Rydia can at this point. So his magic is a bit selective at the moment. So just a few things that you want to keep in mind. He does have Cure, which is the slightly improved version of Cure. So it's a stronger version of what Rydia has, which is basically just Cure right now. But you'll notice that instead of taking 3 magic points for Cure, it takes 9. It is probably worth it, especially in combat, to go ahead and use the upgraded one. So he has Asuna again, and he has Raise. You'll notice it takes 25 magic points, but it will bring back anyone who's been knocked down to 0 hit points. Teleport is also a good thing to have if you find yourself stuck in a dungeon and you are worried you can't get out. For black magic, you'll notice he has Fire, Blizzard, and Thunder, which are going to be our basic ones. And he also has Osmos, which I remember always having mixed luck with in Final Fantasy IV. It's really good in Final Fantasy VI. But I don't remember getting a lot of use out of it, at least in the Super Nintendo version of Final Fantasy IV, which was, as I mentioned earlier, called Final Fantasy II. I'm going to try and keep this to about 25 minutes, so that way if I tack on the extra video, the extra everything, it's okay. Now, one of the abilities that they had in this that is not in the version that I grew up with is Tellah has this ability called Recall, at which point one of the things with Tellah is supposed to be that he doesn't remember all the spells that he has known in his life. He's forgotten most of his magic. And one of the things that will happen later on is he'll actually get his memory back. He'll get all of his spells, and then you can use everything but the spell Meteor in terms of white and black magic with Tellah. At that point, though, he's still really limited by his magic points, because you'll notice that Rydia already almost has as many magic points as he does. And his magic points never go up. It's part of a gimmick to keep you from using the spell Meteor, which I don't necessarily know that I want to spoil anything, but I told Bug about it in advance, where Tellah actually dies later on. So I'm sorry, probably should have said spoiler alert. But basically, they're trying to keep you having just few enough magic points that you can't use Meteor. You'll notice that he does significantly more damage than Rydia does at this point. He did about 316 to that amoeba, where to Rydia's 70. Just so I don't have to go later on, I'm going to go ahead and heal everybody. Magic. Alright, so hopefully this gives Bug an idea on what to do. I'm going to pause the recording for now, and we'll go from there. So every so often you'll get what's called a back attack. So you'll notice that Cecil is in the back row now, and Rydia and Tellah are in the front, meaning that they'll take full damage, and Cecil is significantly weaker in terms of having his attack output halved. So how you can fix that is you can just go down and find the swap rows option, which will swap them back to the way we want them. And we can take them out real quick with some magic, and we're good to go. Alright, so just one thing real quick, in case Bug wants to know how to get that chest up above where I currently am. So basically straight up and just slightly to the right. So you can go around down these stairs and then under that bridge that I was just standing on. I know it doesn't quite look like it, but you can. In case you're wondering how to get to that. So go ahead and pause again. We should resume the video when we get to the next thing I feel like we need to bring up. Alright, so I'm on the second floor, and I want to go ahead and explain how the Osmos spell works for Bug. So you'll notice that I've been using magic heavily. Rydia is down to 1 magic point. Tellah is down to 66, and I've actually impressive about that is that he was actually down below 10 at one point. So for this trick to work, you need to make sure you always have enough magic points to use Osmos. So what Osmos does is it steals magic points from whatever your target is and restores them to you. So it takes 5 magic points, as you can see. So the trick that you want to keep in mind is that where almost every enemy in the game has at least 1 or 2 magic points, for this spell to be worth it, you really need to pick something that you know has at least more than 5. So for that, these tiny mages that were giving me some problems earlier is going to be the best target. So I can just select Tiny Mage with Osmos. It is a single target attack no matter what. So then we can cast Osmos. You'll notice it's a little bit slower to cast than, say, Thunder. But once it's done, he should cast the spell, and he should be able to steal 99 experience points, magic points from these little tiny mages. Now, what makes Tellah great at this point is both the Osmos spell and the fact that his magic is so strong that as long as you've got less than 4 enemies on the screen and you select the right spell, it should pretty much wipe them out. And that's why we wanted to make sure we got Tellah as fast as possible at this point. That way we can just go in, wipe everything out. One of the funny things about Tellah when he gains levels is at least on one level you'll see his strength drop. But this Tellah really kind of carries Cecil and Rydia at this point. Because Cecil's one of the best characters in the game, obviously, but usually that's once he is actually the paladin a bit later on. At the moment, he is strong. He is definitely one of the best physical characters in the game, regardless whether he's the Dark Knight or the paladin. However, he cannot care. He's not strong enough to destroy large groups on his own yet. Alright, so second floor, we go in, and we find the first actual save point in any kind of cave or dungeon. So Tellah's going to introduce us to the idea of a tent. Usually there isn't this conversation or anything while you use the tent. Usually you just use it. There's usually like a graphic or whatever for when you do. There's some relaxing music. And then we want to make sure that we save here. I thought wanted to just go ahead and double check. So we want to save. Slot 1, yes, previously saved data. Alright. Now we go back out, and from this point on, we want to try and kind of conserve our magic if possible, because we want it for the boss. We find an Ice Rod, which should be a slight increase in damage. You want to give it to Rydia. I don't remember. I haven't looked at Tellah's equipment. If we wanted to, we could actually probably take that Gaia gear off him, because we're not going to have him much longer. It's not really important that you do so, though. It's just one of those little things that if you wanted to, kind of optimize your equipment for the least amount of money, you could do it. So Rydia's magic points is equal to Tellah's, but we're going to save her magic because she does not know Osmos yet. And I missed a chest, apparently. I'm trying to remember how to get there. Yeah, I took the wrong way. I'm not too worried about it, though. At this point in the game, nothing should be so great that if I miss it, I'm doomed. Alright, so Bug, if you're seeing it, that Rydia is paralyzed right now. Paralyzed is a hassle, but the good news is that it doesn't last past the end of the battle. Alright, so I wanted to make sure Bug saw this chest. So and in that first cave where we found Tellah, we went down a bit. We came back up. I think we're back up on floor 1. So it's the map that's going to look like this. You want to make sure that you get this chest that I'm standing in front of right here, because that's the first sword improvement for Cecil. So it's going to take his attack from 10 with an accuracy of 85% up to 20 with 90. So he's going to do significantly more damage with the Shadow Blade equipped than he would have previously. So I'm beginning to think that I'm remembering which cave I'm in wrong, because it's not looking like where I was thinking it is in terms of fighting the boss. But I am close enough that once I come down here, get this last chest, and see if I can't fill out the map. Oh, I'm not going to be able to without going all the way around, and I don't feel like it. So again, I've been saving Rudia's magic because I remembered there being a boss, specifically the octopus, in this area. So we'll have to see how that goes, if I'm remembering wrong or not. If I'm not remembering wrong, it should just be right up from here. Nothing over there. Alright, and we're going to go up. We're going to go up again. We're going to try and leave. We're going to see what happens. Must go. Here we go. We must go outside for a time. That's what I'm forgetting. So we're actually going to go around. So I didn't actually need to save Rudia's magic for that little section. Oh, your mighty, mighty 5 points of damage, Tellah. How would we ever succeed without you? Yep, there we go. So what we do want to do before we go back in is we want to use a tent. This will restore the hit points and magic of our party. There's our cute little tent. It's so cute. It's so cute as it is. I don't know where that came from. Alright, we want to make sure that we save again. Oops, wrong button. Yes, we want to override it. Yes, we know about cloud saving. Alright, we're going to go in. And we're now at the underground falls. So we're going to go down, and we are going to get in the boss fight that I was thinking of. So if we leave down the waterfall, we fight the boss. Or at least will soon afterwards. Now we're in Underground Lake Basement 2. Up. Over. Guess we're not quite ready yet. Swap rows. Alright, so one of the things about most RPGs that you might need to know is that, in general, undead are generally weak against fire. So we'll see if that's the case here. That is, and they all die. Wonderful, wonderful Tellah. Alright, but Rudy got poisoned. So we can go in, we can see if we have any antidotes to save some magic. Otherwise, she'll continue taking damage as we walk, and we definitely don't want that. We want to try and save her health and our magic and our items as much as possible. There's equipment for Cecil, so that'll be his first upgrade. For it was his helmet and his gloves, or his gauntlets rather, since we're talking about armor. Alright, now I'm going to run from these things because they're pretty easy and if you remember what spells to use against them, but I don't want to use my magic trying to remind myself which color is weak against what element. And I'm surprised, so they get to attack me before I get to do anything. Hooray. Alright. Smack around some alligators. Oh, I forgot how tough these things are. Use a little bit of our magic. We'll be okay. And his stamina decreased, making him take more damage from things. Hooray! We get 5 potions for completing the map. If I remember correctly, then we'll run from these things again for the same reason. Although, well, not going to get a chance to hit with the ice rod and see what happens. Alright, so there should be some equipment for Cecil again here somewhere. There's the Hades armor. Hermes sandals, which is being an item. We're going to go ahead and put on Cecil's new armor. So we're if I remember correctly, and there's an entire set of armor in this cave for him. We're just missing the shield. We're going to go back across the bridge and see if we can... Oh, that was a waste. And it got me attacked. Alright. So that helped me learn that they're weak against ice. So I'm going to use Blizzard this time, and hopefully that will make all the difference in the world to save some more magic points. Instead of that we can only hit them once. Found a leather cap, which I think we've already got. Yep, we do. Well, we can check Tellah. Yeah, so Tellah doesn't have a leather cap, so we can throw the leather cap on him, even though we're not going to have him much longer. Alright. And that should be basically it before the boss. And Ceridia learns raise and stop. Alright, so I'm about to the boss. We're back up. We're in this lake, and you can see the tentacles up in advance. So there they are. So we're just going to finish our map real quick. Get some Zeus's wraths. And we want to make sure that we're as healed as we can be without wasting too many items or magic points. So I'm going to use Chocobo Kick once with Bridia, although if I remember correctly, Thunder is actually going to be more useful against this particular boss than any of our summoning magic at the moment. So just so Bug can see it once, in case she hasn't, why didn't that just happen? Alright, summon. There we go. Chocobo. Alright. I'm going to smack it around some, and we're going to use Thunder. I apparently just skipped it somehow. I'm not used to how this iPhone version plays. So let's try again so she can actually see it. And you can tell how weak it's getting by how many tentacles it has. So whenever you knock off a tentacle, you're technically a little bit closer to beating it. All right, so here we go. Chocobo. I'm hoping she thinks that's so cute. I love when Bug thinks things are so cute. Now, one of the things I could also do is I could also use Darkness to do more damage with Cecil at the cost of hit points, which probably would be worth it at some point. But at the moment, I'm going to hold off on it. And I'm going to try and keep my party healed up a bit better. So I'm going to use Rydia for that primarily, since she does less damage right now than Tellah does. Just keep smacking it with Thunder, keep hitting it with Cecil. Use Thunder when the party's good, otherwise heal people with Rydia. It's the best way to go for this fight. Now, you can use Recall and hope that you hit it with Thundaga, but considering the number of spells in the game, that's really unlikely, so it's probably not the smartest idea. And Tellah tells us, excellent, the beast is weakening. It's going to tell us not to be lulled into thinking we've won. A wounded beast is a dangerous one. And it seems to be doing more damage now, so we're just going to continue healing people with Rydia. That way our two characters that can do the most damage can focus just on doing damage. And he knocks out Tellah. So I could use Raise right now, or I could see if I have an item capable of actually doing that same deal. But I actually think I'm going to use Darkness. Try and make this go a little faster. And I'm going to do Cura again. Man, he's determined. Why is he targeting my magic user so much? You know, I got these people out in the. I got Cecil out in the front row, perfectly ready and willing to get smacked around. But no, you want to pick on the little girl. What'd the little girl ever do to you except electrocute you? And I missed, because that's what you want to see in a boss fight, is one of your best attackers whiffing it. I probably easily could have done Darkness all the way through. I'm just programmed to play the game kind of like I did back when I was a kid. So, I mean, it does 10% of your health, which is, for me about 39. I mean, that's not bad. I never was in too much danger with Cecil, but that could be because he was smacking Rydia around so much. So Rydia actually gained 2 levels from that fight, possibly because Tellah's been knocked out. So does Cecil, probably for the same reason. Once that's out of the way, we can go out, and here soon we're going to trade off having Tellah for having Edward. But that is another video for another time. So hopefully that helps you get through this cave, Bug. I don't know how much of this is going to be worth recording the entire game for you for, but I love you very much, and good night.